All right. Welcome everyone to yet another episode of Splat Chat. We are about to hit Splat Chat episode 20, but that's going to be next week. We're actually on episode 19, but there's been a lot of crazy events recently between the final week of preseason for the North American Nintendo Splatoon 3 League. Also a really stacked area cup with a lot of exciting storylines, and also the kickstart to the new CCA season with the second season of the CCA circuit this fall. Wow, there's a lot to talk about. We have quite a few different amazing guests here with Nito, Nox, and Pink Puffy Pastry. How are all three of you doing today?
Who wants to go first? There we go. Good, we got an answer. I think I'm doing pretty well so far. It's been a day ever. I napped, forgot I napped, woke up, and said I had to go to class. But other than that, it's been fine.
Can't complain. Pastry, how are you doing?
I've been having a pretty good day. I spent half of it sleeping because, sometimes you just need, that kind of day where it's just, but what we can't sleep on is the crazy things that happened this weekend. So looking forward to that.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think we have to first talk about probably the biggest event, of course, of the weekend being the second week of preseason of the North American Splatoon League. And we had quite the show, particularly we'll talk about a little bit later against Free Flow and Hypernova going back to back over and over again with a little bit of a surprise upset, debatably from some people, with Free Flow really putting on a show for the crowd. But I mean, first off, we have a few different members of the crowd here with our cast who were actually a part of the event in different ways. Nox, in particular, you were one of the commentators for this past weekend. How was that experience? How was your experience as a part of the Splatoon NA League this week?
I mean, it was a fantastic time. It's always a fantastic time. Nine and Rissa are amazing to commentate with, super smooth, super easy. And we had really back and forth matches and interesting weapon picks, in part because it was a preseason week. But it still was very fun, and probably the first time and last time I'll see a Colors Aerospray for a while.
Yeah.
I want more. I still want more.
And Pastry, on the other hand, you were actually competing in the event too. How was that?
It was a lot of fun. I think something that is very nice about official Nintendo events is just the raw variety of player base you get. And playing in something like a Swimmer Sync or playing in something like a Triton Cup, if you do a lot of those over a long period of time, you kind of forget the fact that a lot of the teams, they're kind of just not beginners necessarily, but just players that don't just sweat the game. Mm-hmm. It's really nice to have a huge base of players where it's okay, yeah, these players they've barely touched Sendawink, or it's they're not even on Sendawink, or it's oh, okay, I'm fighting Hypernova now. Okay, I'm fighting them again for top 8. Okay, awesome. It's really nice to see the variety there.
No, absolutely. And I mean, there's quite a few different things to say about that top 8 bracket as well, with, of course, Hypernova, Free Flow being some top names on it, but quite a few other faces on it as well. Pastry, you being from Freedom, I believe, in particular, yep. And a few other fun new faces as well, relatively speaking. But let's just get things kickstarted, right? What was everyone's big kind of shock from this weekend, or storyline that they didn't necessarily expect? I have one off the top of my head, but I wanted to throw it out to you all first here.
For me, the biggest takeaway was just how interesting the weapon picks were. And I don't think that will continue as much once we're into regular season. I think that is in part because of the people that came out for preseason. Me and Raze were doing a little analysis thing on Twitch the other day, and kind of we don't know how many of these teams will make the actual top 8 during regular season at all, but it's awesome that there's this opportunity, and it's still great practice. I don't expect to see Colors Aerospray with 2 blasters again, is really the takeaway.
Probably not.
Yeah, in general, I noticed around this kind of level, those picks for example, we're hammering the the colors with the double blast, but also, vanilla bamboo backless getting top 3. Like,
Yeah.
what? That just does, like, it's a fun thing where when you're at that level where there are players that are very skilled but don't play weapons that are, well, give you the best chance of winning or give you the best matchups in the current metagame, or maybe synergize with your team comps the best. You have these teams where you have players with very like quirky weapons, not necessarily like terrible for most of them. Most.
Yeah, most.
Not that one, but most of them. But it's fun seeing that dynamic, and something I want to bring up when it comes to a comp that isn't that great on every single map mode, but we saw picked anyway was Free Flow's comp and how they fought Hypernova.
The number
yeah.
Oh, the number of splatter color screens across the board was also really interesting.
Right. You know what? Actually, I wanted to bring up something because I was thinking about this as y'all were talking and y'all were bringing up the weapon picks. I think that me as a viewer, obviously I didn't play, I didn't commentate. I watched most of it, and I gotta say that as a viewer, I was decently pleased by what I saw. I know I've been a critic of Nintendo in the past and the events they put out, but this one, I'm starting to see some top-notch quality stuff from Nintendo from them. I mean, you obviously got the finals match, which we'll get to, I'm sure, in a minute. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there, but there's a lot from this tournament that I would like to talk about, like just all the gameplay you get, the quality of the tournament itself, stuff we haven't seen from Nintendo in a while that, like, it makes me believe that as a spectator, I'm finally going to get to see that part of competitive Splatoon that maybe Nintendo hadn't dove into yet. And I'm starting to get to see the best of those teams. And it's because there is that Nintendo name attached to it, you're going to get a lot more viewership out of it. And that means we're going to get more exposure out of it. I do like that. As a spectator, I liked what Nintendo has been putting out with the NA League, especially in the last 2 preseason matches. Everything that you've seen there, getting to see stuff like those picks come out, it tells competitive players like, hey, we're open to trying out these newer weapons, seeing what else works. And it's open, and it's a sign to newer players like, hey, you can get here with your weapon choices. I don't know. I just like everything about this weekend. I like what I've seen so far.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The having that is really nice. Specifically, like that point about you can pick a lot of weapons and get to at least a certain level of competitive play. Like one thing that we did bring up is like the preseason, the top 8s we see now the top 8 that are exactly what we're gonna see maybe in the regular season. Not so lenient, but
there you go.
And if there are interesting weapon picks, there will be no leniency at all in how they are executed.
Yeah.
There you go.
One of the moments I want to bring up here is I'll send the link of this in the clip, is I really noticed something interesting about the difference in philosophies when it comes to comps from the top 2 teams. Something from like Hypernova compared to Free Flow. I actually had the experience of getting to fight Hypernova a few times. One time it had side apps on the Dapples, and another time it was Fishy on the Mints with side apps on the Forge, and I was like, whoa, okay. But in this game specifically here, we actually saw the Fishy on the heavy edits Nuvo, and it was a double anchor composition in a way. And when I saw this match play out at the start of it, like around the middle, I noticed, wow, if you can get a hold with this double anchor composition, even if it's not that common on paper, it is so abnormally difficult for something like what Free Flow runs to really play the game how they want to. Like they would just try to drop in, and then they just get laser beams, like either the edits or like the crab shots or the pen. There's just such a crazy range advantage here that they use so well.
Yeah. And I think that Free Flow probably could have played better around splatter color screen throughout this match. I think that would have made a big difference here, because obviously that heavily interferes with all of Hypernova's comp. They don't really have any like true AoE kind of weapons.
Like no blaster.
No blaster. Nothing that can really deal with screen particularly well. I think Free Flow is also just still figuring out how they want to play with Brella and screen. Because I think those are both pretty recent adaptations.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like Adapt is normally like at least around like a few months ago, I would usually see Adapt on like the Luna Blaster Neo, and the Luna Blaster Neo versus the Tri-Saucer. That's like a, I mean, well, they're both big AoE guns at the end of the day, but the special macro is definitely different there.
Yeah, and also like your teammates playing around you changes pretty drastically between screen and no screen. Screen just drastically changes pushes, and I think Adapt was using screen very well, and Free Flow just doesn't quite know how to capitalize off of it quite yet.
I remember there was one moment towards one of the ends of, I think it was an Urchin Underpass game with Free Flow, and they were like in a pretty strong position themselves to attempt to get like a last second push towards a lead, and it just never came together because they weren't able to play off of a screen that they threw towards the end. And I completely agree with you there. It's such like an odd weapon and special to try to play around for a lot of different teams, but I think the weapons are there. It's just like how they really choose to play off of it, and it's almost like spammy nature. Yeah, I think this might have been it right here, but yeah, it's a tough battle.
It is. And I think I think Free Flow has a lot of potential. I think I could be proven wrong here. I don't necessarily expect to see them make top 8s consistently throughout this league after this point. Not because their players are not good. I think they just haven't found the synergy yet. And their comp is so reliant on that.
They clearly like to try to play Brellas like the Sorella, or like historically, I know they've had a Tent as well. Like those different weapon picks, like they just struggle a lot into this double sword that Hypernova loves to kind of just default on at times. And I mean, that honestly, it's one of the most fun comps, at least for me as a Splatana main myself, to watch. It's just seeing like how fast they can move, and it's such like a weird juxtaposition. So like what they had with that Headit pick earlier on the crab leg map mode as well. So seeing like the adaptability, I think it's something that if Free Flow can use it to their advantage with some of these different comps that they throw out, it's definitely something that they can find their own niche into. But it's going to be a battle against some of these traditionally higher level groups.
Yeah, and there's also just the issue of JJ's so good at Sorella Brella. Like the problem is you can force a player off of Brella relatively easily with the weapons in Splatoon 3. They all do, like, if you're looking at any of the newer weapon classes, the Stringers, the Splatanas, those are the two new ones. I remembered how words work. They just have such high object damage that you can't really play Brella into them. It's like, oh, they did one slash, my shield's gone. Oh, they did another slash, I'm gone, I'm splatted. And it's just a rough situation because Brella's job is to stall primarily.
Yeah,
the matchups are
utilize that. No, go for it.
Yeah, the matchups for Brella in this game is not forgiving, frankly. Like in Splatoon 2, at least there were a lot of shooters, and there's still some like, it wasn't the perfect meta for Brella, but it was a lot better than oh wow, I hold my ZR button after I went for my jump, and now the pen shot it. Okay, my shield's gone. Awesome. And now I'm fighting a slosher, and I have no range. Yes, give me more. It's definitely a rougher story there, and it's interesting because like JJ, I see JJ's packs like inkjets be used, and we talk about the importance of synergy, knowing how to play around specials that are very dynamic, like the screen, for example, earlier, but also the inkjet. Free Flow looks so good at playing around the inkjet in that winner's final set. The problem is, again, like the just ceiling of the weapon compared to like a group like Hypernova, it seemed to be rough at times.
Yeah. They were definitely using inkjet as their initiating special, which isn't in and of itself a problem. It just is a challenge to deal with and figure out how do we protect the president a little bit for the Brella and inkjet.
And then when they have to go back and they're in that winter finals bracket reset as well too, right? Like the cards have been played. They've already overwhelmed Hypernova to a certain extent where they have now had to fight their way out of losers back up into the grands finals situation. And now they're like, okay, well, now we know what tools we have to best overwhelm now Free Flow. So it's about like keeping your opponent on their toes, really. And there's, again, like kind of that whole dilemma with screen that we're kind of seeing earlier too from their group as well.
Yeah, and this This Comet's Octobrush pick was interesting to me. Not something I can see the vision a little bit. It's just not. It just can't really hold up at this level very often. Especially if you're not like a one trick.
And that's the fun part about, again, like y'all mentioned multiple times, this is the preseason. You're going to see a lot of this experimentation going on. You find out what does and doesn't work. I like y'all's point about synergy because Free Flow already has a lot. I mean, Free Flow has been a team that's been playing since I can remember, so I can't name an exact year. But I think that with experimentation comes that idea of like, okay, we need to find out what's working now so that we're not dealing with it later. Hypernova, to y'all's extent, to what y'all said. I mean, y'all said something along the lines of like, they've already exhausted them enough. Hypernova has already been pushed back enough to where it's like, all right, well, we know what you're gonna do. Free Flow likes to play that sort of strategy to where we're gonna rush you down, we're gonna see what happens, and if you can't keep up with us, sorry. And that's a good thing that they're trying to experiment in ways that I believe that's the way they're trying to experiment with, trying to keep things backed off for the opposing team. And I like that. The only problem is, or there's no problem right now. It's preseason. You'll figure it out. You got like another few more regular season sessions to go. If you don't figure it out the first time.
10 of them, in fact.
Yeah. A few of them.
That is a good point that you're allowed to experiment more in this time in the format specifically, but also just like the format as a whole, because it's spread out across multiple weeks and it takes, I believe it's your 5 best results. Like you have the ability to like, well, I wanna use Sorella, or it's like, well, I wanna try this Comet Turf War. I played like one Turf War tournament anyway. I don't think the opponents played any Turf War. Let's just try something, that kind of thing. It's really interesting. And I also want to give like just a bit of a shout out to Turf War in general. The Turf War we saw between Free Flow and Hypernova compared to preseason week 1, it was awesome. There was 2 refluxes on both sides. They both painted the base like that. I was in cloud 9. It was the best thing I've ever seen. I was just like, yes, dude, yes.
Yeah, it's not the worst turf war we've ever seen by any means. Definitely still plenty to work on from both sides. But that's in part because we don't practice turf war much as a community. So nothing too shocking there.
Yeah, the most I ever touched turf war is during a warm-up, and even after that I play one match and I'm like, all right, everyone's online, let's play Anarchy Open. Or like Scrim or whatever. It's not, you don't touch turf war as often. And granted, I'd like to see a little bit more of it. I don't think we've seen enough of it in comp. Maybe, and that's mainly because I've seen both sides of the argument. I've seen like, well, none of it really matters until the last 30 seconds. And I've also seen like, well, it also teaches you the basic fundamentals of competitive Splatoon. I've seen both of those. Let's just give it a shot. I'm glad that the NA League is giving that a shot, and maybe also to encourage newcomers to come in, just so we're not focusing on all ranked modes. But at the same time, it gives that competitive side a avenue to which they can explore turf war and see, all right, well, maybe this is good, maybe not. Let's find out.
The best part of it really is it just creates new ways to interact with the game too, right? I think there's so many little intricacies to just painting different parts of the map and choosing to exist in them, and then someone else walks up to it and it's like, well, I'm here, and then they get like a little jump scare, right? But it just like how you can play around the map and its objectives, its obstacles is really important. So if teams like really take what the Nintendo League is trying to push a little bit by just adapting to all the different modes, I think it'll just help increase our skills as a whole in the greater scene. Like, I know it's been a big comment after, of course, the Splat World Series, right? And everything that kind of came out of that, of like, how can we play better? But if we choose to like try to make these different modes work better for us, it'll just help in the long run for most of our teams.
Well, and there's also just the fact of the matter that if we're looking at teams in the North America region specifically, Nintendo's, to my, like, I just would be shocked to see Nintendo run a not all modes tournament, or at least for the playoffs to not be all modes. They want to show off all the modes of their game. It's makes sense for them to want to do. So there's a lot of benefit to practicing all modes, at least in the North American region.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Nintendo is a company, and what you want as a company is to make money. So, understandable. It's understandable. But I still think there's that added benefit of like, hey, competitive Splatoon. Come play Turf War, see if you like it. If you do, great. If not, all right, well, we'll still run it in our tournaments, and we may even find ways to, God forbid, listen to fans and see what we can fix it in for.
They are using a lot of community members for the North American League. I've got to give them some props there.
Yeah. I mean, I would have never expected to see some of the names I do in competitive Splatoon, and that's obviously a good thing. We're seeing them come up to Nintendo. Nintendo's giving them the call up and saying, hey, come join us. We know you're well-respected in your communities. Come join us. That's another face that like we can show to competitive Splatoon players and say, hey, you know them. Come watch them. But also, this is our tournament. And we're trying to show you that we still have a palatable product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do have a good point that, well, there's 5 modes. Let's use all 5 modes. I mean, hey, they're right there. And Turf War, it definitely does have that appeal to beginners. It's very, very simple. And having that the last dynamic, at least for like a live audience, is kind of ridiculous. Like, even as someone that's like, I've looked at a lot of Turf War VODs, like especially in Japan, so like I researched the mode a lot, and it's like even like regardless of the level, you still kind of have that, oh, okay, this is the last minute, all right, how are we gonna bunker down, how are we gonna play around our cooler, what's our special rotations like, how well is our base painted, is gonna be any invades, it is just very spicy just naturally, right? But I do think something that is a huge difference in why Japan, for example, compared to literally any other region, cares about Turf War just a lot more is Koshien. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Koshien, the last Koshien that was hosted for Splatoon 3, if you didn't win it, you didn't go to Worlds. So you could be 5k XP in zones, you can have like a melon angle, right? So you're literally 5k in zones, and then you don't win Koshien, so you can't be at Worlds. So it's kind of by design that, at least in Splatoon 3, that they have to care about it exponentially more. But Koshien has just been a long-running series for a while, so like just a lot of appeal for Turf War in that sense. But I also notice a community difference when it comes to the mode as well. Really big community difference.
Yes. And I don't know that I ever expect the West in general to be big Turf War fans. I think it is something that everyone accepts. It's going to be in the Nintendo tournament. We have to play it there. I don't know how well received it would be to put it into higher level tournaments. I do think we could experiment with it in like Little Squid League level tournaments and lower. I think that could be, and I know Little Squid League isn't around anymore, but that's the easiest example I can think of. Just to help get new people in, I think that would be useful potentially, because Turf War is less intimidating to people.
I think just opening the door to like having as a counter pick, I think that's something that's really underrated, that I think a few more tournaments are starting to run recently. Is just a concept of having counter picks more like quickly available. Like maybe the first couple rounds it's set mapless, but then after that it's like, okay, just counter pick your stuff and roll with it. And for the most part, I think that's been received relatively well from what I've seen in the community so far. And I think just a commitment to trying to run stuff like that more often is going to be a huge benefit. And again, like, it's been established by Nintendo, hey, we're locked in right now. We're serious. Like, we have a league. You should play in it. It'll be cool. But like, when that league's not happening, having the opportunity to still integrate within all the different 5 modes of the game. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to bump into it. You're going to have to suck it up and be like, okay, now it's my mandatory 3 minutes of Turf War. For some people, that might be their mandatory 5 or less minutes of Rainmaker, depending on how long one team is stalling over the other, right? But it's like, well, you have to bump into it anyways.
Yeah.
The Turf War bugs will bite. They will bite, and you gotta be ready. Any Nintendo event, it's just working in the shadows.
And maybe I'm saying this. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is a good point, though, that the counterpicking nature to like more community events, but just any league in general, it offers a really, really cool strategic element that like sure, like maybe like a top team will like be able to benefit and exploit the way the counterpicks work a lot better than like do like a lower down team, right? But that's more just natural. But having the ability to think about well, what mode do we want to play? And if we select this mode, what map are the opponents going to pick? Do we have the best weapons for this? Should we swap a thing or two? Like, what will give us the advantage here? I think it does funnily end up like switching around to like the conversation we were having around the beginning of like when we were just talking about the NA League, where turf comps are very weird.
Yes.
Extremely weird. Like we see players that are playing like sword pick up a tiny bow. Like what's happening here? Why is there 5 booyah bombs on turf war humpback? Where's Star Cooler? Like it's ridiculous.
I will say, as a viewer, I think that, and I obviously could talk about it as a player too. I mean, I'm semi-retired. All I do is babysit Nebraska's Splatoon team. But I think as a viewer, it's worth looking into that turf war stuff. Let's just see if it works out, because I like to think of I like thinking about competitive Splatoon not just as a player but as a viewer, because as a broadcaster, I like to see all like angles of what this game means to people. Obviously, if you're playing in it, it means a lot because you want to win. If you're viewing it, it may not mean much unless you know a little bit more about the game and the teams themselves. But on the side of the game, turf war is very easy to get into, as I'm sure we as we discussed. Turf war is one of those modes where, like, all right, you can look at it and you kind of already understand what's going on. It's basically what you see in the front cover of Splatoon. They're all painting turf to win. So,
I don't know. That was the one mode that when I talked with my dad after commentating that tournament, he was like, actually, what was that one where they were just painting the ground? That was the one he had a hard time with. Clamblitz was fine. Turf war is apparently the confusing one.
That's actually a funny. That's funny you brought that up, because I was listening to the sports radio show every once in a while from my hometown, from my home area in Dallas-Fort Worth, and I once sent in a message about Splatoon, and one of them was like, "Oh, I like that one mode where you're just painting around, because I feel like that's very simple." I always hated the part where someone paints over my turf, and I'm like, "Welcome to Splatoon, sorry, buddy." But like, of course, they're new. They're like not really competitive players. They're just there to play. I think he said he was playing for his son. Obviously, a lot of things we can see from turf war. I just want to see more of it. I would be open to seeing more of it in competitive Splatoon. As a player, I might have different thoughts, but as a viewer, I'm thinking, why not? I mean, let's do it. Let's open the floodgates. See what happens.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, have any of you ever asked a family member or like a friend, like, hey, do you know anything about this Splatoon thing I do sometimes? Because the moment I bring it up, no one knows exactly at all what I'm talking about.
Oh, good heavens.
I've had a good few people know, but that's probably just luck on my end. And then my family knows because this was my second time getting to commentate for Nintendo, so it's kind of just like they'll watch these ones. They'll tune into MomoCon in these.
I will say, I sent my mom a picture of like the stage at Riptide before I was about to commentate, and my mom's like, "Hey, I'm very proud of you. I don't understand a thing that's happening on that screen," and I'm like, just come and watch me. I mean, if it's like, yeah, I can't even compare it to a sport. I don't even know what's going on sometimes.
Well, the nice thing the nice thing when you're doing like North American League commentary is you're going to talk about the rules. You're going to explain the rules each time, like the first time each mode comes up. I don't know. I saw this post on Blue Sky that was like meant to be a joke, but also sparked a somewhat interesting discussion about like, we just play zones so much because it's the easiest to explain to our friends, and like, they're all pretty easy to explain.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, like, I think most commentators, if we wanted to have that be a thing we do for our majors, just the majors, we don't need to do that for weekly. Could go through, like, first time we're seeing the map, the stage mode in each area, go through and be like, this is what this mode does, this is how it works, here's a simple breakdown. And I think that would be useful in, like, a major setting. We already usually do it at LANs. I don't think it should be done for weeklies because we're not going to get random casual viewers for weeklies generally.
Most of the people that are like watching a swimmer singer, they're gonna know about the game. Like they're also
usually playing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like playing in SOS, I'm hearing how like Rainmaker works on Hammerhead. It's like, oh,
exactly.
No, really?
Oh, you move the fish to the podium and then to the next podium? I didn't know.
That is an interesting discussion though. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if the sentence on paper of like, well, we play zones because it's easier to explain to our friends. Like you debunked it really well. Like we play zones because it's well balanced. We don't have to experience Rainmaker soloing or the volatility of tower on some map mode.
Don't have to do math and clam blitz.
Yeah, like it's similar to the argument for Turf War in a way where it's like it's very fundamental. But I'd say unlike Turf War, the comps for zones are just so open. Like you can run so many things on Turf War in zones, and it'll be like at least okay.
Yeah. I kind of like that Rainmaker and Tower Control and Clam Blitz force teams to flex around more. I personally prefer that. I think it's good for players to have to figure out how to adapt to all circumstances. I'm aware it is not what they want to do. And that is coming. And I liked playing all modes when I played. I enjoyed that personally. I get bored when it's just zones. I get bored watching just zones. I don't like commentating just zones. So I think it's nice to have multiple modes. I think it's more fun. It's fun. I kind of like what SOS has been playing with of doing like predominantly zones.
Yeah, that's so good.
But I also think it's good for teams to have to experiment and learn other modes. I think it is I think thought experiments are good for teams to have to do.
And that goes along with the counter picking and other stuff along the lines of that, right? With and especially the way the Nintendo League does it, where there's coin flips, and it's like, well, you're actually just doing the mode. You're not also doing the map, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Just like how you can get them to interact with the game in different ways. And it's like, well, you're forcing your opponent onto their least favorite mode, and just all the little different intricacies that come with it. To kind of like start to maybe wrap up our discussion on the NA League a little bit, I think we have to kind of get the elephant out of the room. Who do you all think we'll see this weekend in the first official real week of the Nintendo League, team-wise?
I think we'll probably see the Crush Soda or whatever they were calling themselves at Riptide, that Crush Soda group. Yeah. I think we'll see them probably. They're probably one of the favorites to do really well and potentially make playoffs. Potentially FT win.
I want to bring this up because at some point I'm going to get a post about this, and I want it to at least be a good thing because of what they did at Riptide. Go ahead and give me Triggerfish Zones. I mean, this is a team that ever since Riptide, I was looking at them and thinking, I can't even joke about this anymore. This is a really solid team. I mean, the run they went on at Riptide was phenomenal. And the fact that they went to the first preseason event and showed up in that top 8. In fact, I need to go ahead and jog my memory on where they went. I think they actually finished 3rd.
They got to Grands, I believe.
I believe they were second.
Yeah.
They were second to Grands. Okay, yeah. And then that's the thing, though. It's like they're in that upper echelon. If they're not there yet, they're going to be there. I think within the span of these next 10 sessions. I know I joked a lot about being that number 1 TCS hater, and obviously to some extent I'm still going to do it. I think it's funny at times the way I try to execute it, but at some point I also have to admit, like, this team is really, really phenomenal, and I would not be surprised if I saw them reach that at any point throughout this week 1. It could happen. I would say it's like a dark horse contender. I don't think it's going to be a solid pick, but it's up there. I want to see that happen at some point.
So, and what I'm hearing is that you went from the number 1 TZS hater so long to now you're the number 1 TZS lover because you know too much about them.
Listen, Omizen. All right, let me just listen. Someone has to take that job, and it's going to be me. Now, I can take that job and be aware of what I say on stream is not going to match what I say on stream. But I'm still a number 1 hater, don't get me wrong. Kraken's watching this and thinking, oh, you're so conflicted right now. I'm posting this on Twitter, Blue Sky, everything. Do whatever you want. I'm still going to be the number 1 hater, but I still want you to do well.
I hate you, but with a big heart emoji next to it.
Yeah. I also have to bring up, well, of course, our top 2 here for this week, right? With between Free Flow and Hypernova. Hypernova did look very solid. I also gotta say Free Flow too, because like Free Flow was like they're still like, you know, clearly like trying like a lot of different things here, like a lot of different options. And because of, you know, the reach, a lot of people like know and respect Free Flow just as a team and also just a raw skill, right? They're able to get those kind of scrims and those kind of repetitions that can definitely put them in a position where I can totally see a group like that top 8. Also like Hypernova, gotta give like Hypernova like around the board like some really nice ups. They have evolved a lot as a group. Like I remember like around the time of Splat World Series, right, where they were running like it was like Brush, Wiper, and then their playstyle was chaotic with a capital C, also in bold, also underlined, also italicized, title text, all that stuff. But they've been doing a great job coordinating.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
they've also had some recent roster changes, like right before Riptide. Like Dat Kid's not there anymore. There's some decent roster changes that are contributing to that change, along with obviously K-Bot's coaching.
Yeah. Shout out to K-Bot.
Yeah. It helps to have a K-Bot coach.
The always retired K-Bot.
He just retired from TOing.
Oh my gosh, K-Bot.
You can't escape. You're here for too long. Now you're just here forever.
Retirement means nothing in competitive Splatoon. I hate to say it.
I think like some of my more underrated picks is I do hope we see Hypernova continue again. I know that they most likely will, of course, keep showing up to enough of these events where they likely will qualify for the finals, but I really want to see them. I also hope that we see Simo's crew or Bet in some capacity from Riptide this past year, because that was a really fun squad that I didn't see enough people talking about. That like they kind of like the secret, like it's a coughing baby, but it's actually a hydrogen bomb coughing baby is the way I'll put
It's a hydrogen baby.
Also, surprised none of us have brought it up yet. Moonlight, I think all of us just view as enough of a default, enough of a shoe-in that we didn't feel the need to bring it up. It's Moonlight. They're going to be there. They'll start playing now that we're regular season.
I'm here for the hot takes.
The very hot take that Moonlight's going to make top 8. Yeah, really living on the edge right now.
I think FT win my week too. Just watch out for
Whoa.
Well, wait a second. I'm not sure about that one.
And cream corn. No,
Cream's
we're not.
corn?
I mean, hashtag Creamination. We just might make top 8. I said Creamination out loud on stream. It's a really funny hashtag, and it's just enough that I can say it on stream.
I mean, we'll go into CCA a little bit later, Nito, and you'll be able to do a little bit of glazing for your Nebraska crew, I'm sure. But I mean, that was our takes on, I guess, some of the top teams we'll be seeing this first week. But I mean, Pastry, you were talking a little bit about before. There was also quite a bit that happened in Area Cup as well. Do you mind kind of talking about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, for just to begin with the Area Cup here, you have a bit of a story about one player here, Mauricio. Now, a lot of people have heard of Mauricio, even if you're not a Japanese player. It's like, oh yeah, it's that Sort guy with the crazy ass clips with like 4,000 plus XP with a bunch of Area Cup wins, like the best stamper ever. That guy. He is not the biggest fan of S-Blast. Like he's used it in solo before. Like he knows how to play the gun, but you know, he and also a few other players that are, you know, around like that top level of Japan, they do not like S-Blast. Like, why is this gun having just this insane pick rate, this insane hitbox, this insane fighting, comp potential, damage, rotation ability, burst ball? It just goes on. It's a list. That gun's broken. But Mauricio has actively been, for a player of his caliber, struggling. Now, you can look at his results on paper, and it's some of the best results in the game. So, like, it's not really struggling in that sense. But this is a player that, you know, would be in top 2s, be winning multiple Area Cups, be really at the top of the game. But he was kind of getting, like, this sort of, like, top 4, top 7, those kind of results, right? Where it's, like, not insane, but, of course, extremely good, but not, like, Mauricio's kind of good. So he decided he was going to play he was going to play Toto, who is the best decav in Japan and the world just period right now, and use the S-Blast, a gun he hates. And he ended up winning 3-0. That's a bit of a punch there. You make your rivals your friends, and then you win the Area Cup, I guess.
Yeah. It would not surprise me to see S-Blast get some major nerfs coming soon.
Yeah.
It's been they overdid a little bit with that one.
Please don't call
The
me,
amount of
please.
power it has is just kind of disgusting. I mean, watching Gray really flex it, especially the past several months, has been like, okay, we get it. You dropped like a nearly 30 bomb every single match, and the other team legitimately cannot exit their spawn. You know, just stuff like that, right? So hearing that, especially like a Stamper player who already knows how to flex around burst bombs, knows how to like handle different just ways that their main weapon can handle itself in that way, like it's not surprising at all. Has Mauricio been on blasters at all before Pastry? I actually have no idea.
He's used it a few times. Like it's not a gun where like he's gonna like actively go out of his way to like, you know, play like in multiple tournaments with, because that's primarily just a Stamper. Like he really specifically likes to V Stamper. Like he hates Zipcaster. Like I don't know if I can find this out, but there was a tier list where Mauricio ranked every single Zipcaster weapon for how good it uses Zipcaster. Stamper was like an ERF tier. He had Carbon Rower higher than Stamper when it comes to using Zipcaster. So yeah, but the burst bomb, like you brought it for example, he just loves the burst bomb. Like he played Carbon in S2, Stamper in this game. Apparently he plays S-Flash now. It's incredible. But another gun I'd really like to bring up here in that realm of God's gun currently is the Mince Decapitator and Toto here, where I have a clip, for example, where one of the retakes that they did in the finals that I sent over, but it's like those two guns, it feels like if the player and the skill level is there, you can just be creative and do whatever you want. Like what's your guys' thoughts on that?
They're very oppressive weapons right now in the right hands. Like neither of them are the simplest to play, but they're also, out of their weapon classes, not really the hardest either. I've been messing around with S-Blast a lot. I am not a blaster player. I've gotten some pretty good games with it. Minty Cavitator is, I mean, why does it have that hitbox? Why does it have suction bomb? Why does it have big bubbler? It's just kind of the ultimate skirmish right now.
Why does it exist?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And the two of them together is definitely frightening.
No kidding.
I feel like the hitboxes just keep getting wider on these weapons, or like longer, or just something. Nothing has shrunk. There are no more sploosh weapons. It's just, okay, what if you, like, the whole map was your hitbox and the opponent died immediately when they were within a 50-foot radius of it?
What if we make a squeezer as a blaster, except both parts of it are good?
Yes.
I mean, Ballpoint also does a similar thing. Both parts of Ballpoint have always been good. It's still a solid main weapon, but it's, to be fair, it had its metas where it was too strong too.
Okay, but
long period
Ballpoint was like
S2.
really meta, like that. It was always like a good meta. That's something I'll stand behind. It was always
people did
really
not like
meta.
Ballpoint S2 meta.
I didn't like it either, but you know what? At least I felt like it not having a leader down my throat every single match was slightly better.
There was never leader down your throat in S2. There was Splat Charger. There was Stingray.
There was plenty of, I don't know. I saw plenty of it.
Oh god, not Stingray.
Yeah, I mean that is a good point, where it's like when you have these types of weapons that have multiple firing
the 2-in-1s
modes,
are rough.
Yeah, like when they are at the top of the game, it can either be an S2 Ballpoint situation, S2 Ballpoint MPU situation, or it can be something, you know, honestly more like the current meta, where yes, a lot of people hate fighting S-Boss. I think we can all collectively raise our hands in that. I can't raise my hand, pretend I'm raising my hand, but the sheer amount of things they provide for a comp's perspective of like, okay, S-Blast can handle the chip damage, the fighting, the special entry. It just goes down the list, that kind of thing. It ends up providing a crazy amount of variety in weapons you can run. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I think they do open up the door for a lot of interesting options for other weapons that you can run, but they probably need to be toned back a little bit. You know, just a little bit.
Please.
Just something that makes it not a Luna blaster and a range blaster in one. a very reasonable request, I think.
with a better kit than both of them.
Yeah.
Why not?
Just a little, and then Mint Decapitator also just it's like a situation where in the metas where Tetra could have been good, Tetra's never had a good kit, so it's always only been like good enough. Tetra's never been overpowered because it's never had a kit. And these might have been weapons that shouldn't have been given real kits.
Yeah, that's a good point too, right? Where like just like at the start of the game, like Tetra like as an option to, you know, dive the crabs a bit easier, to tank a lot of fights, and like a little bit after like some like machine nurse, for example, right? When I was like still like pretty good.
Yeah.
This is different than that.
This is much stronger than that.
Yeah, like Splash, for example, was a weapon that had like it's just weird having a moment where it's like the meta weapon is really great or the best in multiple things, and it's hard to find like a genuine actual flaws.
Well, and to be fair, Machine had that moment in S3 too. At that launch.
Oh god.
Because it had Fizzy, which covers painting, it had Booyah Bomb, it was a sloshing machine with faster fire rate and more ink. Like, it was a beast to deal with. I remember the first time I got to commentate for Nintendo back in like the Splatsville era. It was double crab, double machine, flounder, tower control or something. And I just was like, oh, this is what I get to commentate Nintendo for. Okay, this is it. This is what we're doing to me. And it was just like, I get it. It's what's best. I respect it. But also, why am I having to watch 2 splashes and 2 machines? Why is that viable at all, in fact?
Yeah, it's
I wonder if anyone at Nintendo sees that and they're like, wait a minute. I don't know if we want everyone to just be playing like 1 or 2 weapons in the entire video game. And this is like how we advertise it to people. It's like, okay, there are 2 choices. You have the painting gun or you have the washing machine. Pick your poison.
Well, and there's also just
tweets.
I found the salt post. Well, I periodically put them up. Very fun. It's deeply ironic he won.
Yeah.
Goodbye and take care. That's awesome.
But yeah. And the other thing with the machine double splash thing that used to happen was you had 2 burst bomb weapons, you had a fizzy bomb weapon. The numbers just line up crazy well for everyone to be able to get picks if needed. And that comp was very flexible for its time.
Yeah, you could have these you could have like the one crab, you know, tank all the aggro, and then the second crab clean up, or it's like
crab was your anchor.
Fizzy based machine, and then like a more aggro machine. That's a really good point. That like, even though Machine and Splash technically weren't weapons that like an S Blast or a Ballpoint where they have the multiple modes, they were strong enough and flexible enough to like it almost felt like it was 2 modes.
Well, and to be fair, we saw Splash all the way up until this current patch. They did not manage to, and even then, it's still usable now, which is where it should land. It should land and usable. But the fact that it took this long to get there is impressive. And to be fair, that's partially just because Splash is no RNG burst bomb shooter. Like, it's still going to be good.
And so it is.
I don't have an issue with Splash being good. I think it's fun. I like its kits. I'm really into the Splash-O-Matic Gecko kit. I think it's very interesting, and we should see it in Humpback Rainmaker.
Oh, I do like seeing it as well. Sometimes I think about the original trailer for Splatoon 3, and I think it should have had Zipcaster.
It would have been funnier with Zipcaster.
It would have been so fun to play with. And I mean, Crab is great. Crab is great for all the various reasons I can go over another day, but Zipcaster on a Splash, that would have been good. Would have been peak.
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to another player here, and I think this could be like a very fun discussion, just talking about like the ceiling when it comes to players being flexible. There is a player named Yo-chan here who played the Mint in the finals of Air Cup, you know, got top 2, extremely impressive stuff like playing on Lobster. But he also got a win with the Mint. But here's the thing. Yo-chan isn't a Mint player. He's an S-Blast. if you look at the current X rank leaderboards, or even like the previous season's X rank leaderboards, or maybe the one before that, you will see him on blasters. But the thing about Yo-Chan is that he is most likely the most flexible top player like we have. And like there's players like Rusi that can test for that title really well, because like Rusi's played like the shot, played the pen, played some weird stuff like 96 in the finals. But Yo-Chan, if you guys know about the best nine, like the best nine that I like a season or two ago, where it's like you can see your weapon power in series and like your best nine weapons. You got rank 1 in that.
Oh, yeah, that's not nothing. That's very wild.
Yeah, like the fact that this guy has the time to get a 3K on 52 gal as well as get like 2900 with like a bunch of other weapons in that, plus get multiple rank 1s. It's crazy. It was like, it does make you wonder, like how many things are actually one trick type things in this game?
Not many. I would argue that you don't need to one trick in Splatoon 3 very much. Like, yeah, sure, maybe in your own team's comp you need to be on this one specific thing. But I am pretty much against one tricking outside of specific situations. I'd say ink brush players are allowed to one trick. Brush players pretty generally. If you're going to push Tri-Stringer, I'd say you might need to one trick just because of its mechanics and how it works, because it's a beast of a thing. But other than that, I don't think there are many weapons that make sense to completely one trick. It's good to have other options you can switch to. It's good to have backups.
What would you say is your opinion on like how flexible a player can be when it comes to like one tricking or just flexing it in the moment, that kind of thing?
I mean, I think it's important a lot for different comps. I think Pop Gun in particular put it really eloquently a few months ago, where it actually might have been right after Splat World Series in particular, but he was basically like, a lot of teams have to do a way better job of just seeing like what an opponent is throwing at them and taking that into consideration and changing their comp, because what is very common and particularly low level, but has sort of just been a general issue throughout a lot of the scene in the West, is teams don't really ever adapt to what their opponent is throwing at them. They just kind of run their comfort picks and what they like to play on certain maps and modes, and that's just all they do. So like the moment that a weapon comes along that just completely, or a player and the way they use that weapon comes along, they just will completely stomp on them. It's sort of like what we saw, not exactly, but a little bit with the Hypernova versus Free Flow set as a part of the NA League, where the double sword just completely annihilated the Umbrella once Hypernova knew how to counter Free Flow a bit more, and how they could just make sure that, okay, this guy's never going to get any inkjets. The rest of the team's not going to be able to play off of that either. And it forced them to reconsider. So no, that's where I kind of stand. Personally, I'm a little bit of a fraud when I say that, because I'm like a mint decav one trick. So I have nothing to stand on.
That is a good point. That ability to look at what the opponents are playing and like, hey, I can go this weapon and I may be slightly mechanically worse on it, but the advantage of picking this in this situation against these opponents is just, it's too good to pass up, that kind of thing.
Especially because like Moonlight's probably not going to do it as much now that Basil's on E-Leader again. But back when they were running a tent, you kind of need to deal with the tent. The reason Hypernova was able to be their bracket demon to the level they were is because they could get rid of the tent. And it completely changed the way Moonlight needed to play, and that's a hard adaptation to make. I think that might not be the case as much now that we're seeing Moonlight change comps, but that'll be an interesting matchup to see again.
I think their decision to make that shift, though, has helped inspire a lot of teams to just be more open to putting the pencil away, because it goes without saying that Basil is one of the best pencil players just overall, like, ever. And the fact that they're actually making this conscious effort to be like, okay, clearly what we're doing isn't actually the most optimal play for us. It's good, but it's not getting us the results we're looking for. And it's clearly been working for them. They've actually been achieving some podiums. I believe they got 3rd place in Super Jump, if I recall correctly.
I believe
Correct me if
that.
I'm wrong. Yeah, so it has led to them getting better results than they have had in the past. So, and it reflects in other teams too. Like I think Hypernova had the flex of the head it and the pencil, but there were instances where it's like, no, let's just run a zap. And that was the case with a couple other teams throughout the top 8 this past weekend, where they were more open to straight up even going coolerless in certain situations.
Yeah, I think it's always just good to have at least a pocket shooter you can switch to, because if you can just play a pocket shot, you never know when you're just going to need something that can paint and get the job done. Shot might not be amazing right now. It's also never going to be terrible. It's a splatter shot, which is a useful place for a weapon to be. It is useful to have that kind of weapon in your back pocket for, we're really in a corner and my weird niche weapon pick of whatever it is isn't working out great here. What if I just play basic shooter? You can't counter basic shooter. It is simply basic shooter.
YouTuber mains are in shambles right now.
Look, it's rough to be a YouTuber main. They gave it, actually, I still can't believe they gave it torpedo missile. Yeah, they gave it torpedo missile and we're still just like, no, that's not real. We won't look at that. And I have to respect that.
Truly last year, kid.
Yeah, there's no damage up anymore. What's the point of YouTuber? You can't even be that silly with it now.
Yeah, this is I do want to bring up a Rusu for like as an example of like player that knows how to kind of pick shooters. Like for example, he has played object hitter shot before, but something he actually tried in the finals of Area Cup here is the Vanilla 96. And this
interesting.
Is really, yeah, it's a fun special to talk about, specifically like it's Inkback, right? Because like here we see Inkback versus Mints, and we know what's gonna happen. The Mint's gonna run in and oh,
good heavens.
Yeah, and it's like when I saw this, it made me wonder how much has one Inkback been buffed, but two, what if you do just run the Inkback alongside another crossfire weapon like the Edit, for example, right? Where it's like if a sword does want to walk in and just create your bubble, can it actually get that value?
Yeah, I think VAC isn't as bad as we've made it out to be. I think it is hard to use. Though didn't we see, and I could be misremembering here, didn't we see a little bit, we saw Vanilla Charger a good bit in Super Jump.
Yeah.
Towards finals, and that's a similar situation of Inkvac, not that bad. I will say, in the first ever like exhibition match Nintendo held for Splatoon 3, there was Inkvac on Hagglefish specifically, and that was a wild throwback to me for half a second.
I think it's Inkvac. Now this is mainly because with Greencorn, we have a player who mainly plays one of the chargers with Inkvac, and we've been experimenting it for a while, and we start to realize like, hey, Inkvac is actually pretty good when it comes to suppressing enemy fire, and in a game that focuses so much on getting turf, no matter if it's turf war or not, that's really good actually. We found out like, hey, maybe we want to run this more, and I think now that we've had this talk, I almost want to see, do we see that change come out in competitive Splatoon? I want to see more of that Inkvac come out, because I do believe that the more I watch it and the more I see it in action, the more it's like, yeah, we could use this a little more, actually. This is a good special to have, and maybe we didn't give it as much credit as before.
Yeah. I don't expect to see a lot of it still. I don't think it's going to be a top special by any means, but I think we're going to see it in niche situations still. And it always saw occasional play in Rainmaker and stuff.
Very counter-picky type special. I remember Nox, something you brought up is like the place a weapon should be, for example. And maybe not Inkvac's, maybe Inkvac's like a little bit on the underpowered side, but it thankfully now, because that buff where it can just tank more bullets, it's like if like a Craftic shooting at it, it can eat a ton of those bullets.
Yes.
And it's like there is a really nice variety of things in this game where it's like, I can use this in this situation and get some value. It's very, it's a creative meta. It's a very creative meta. It's so cool.
Yeah, I'm afraid the E-Leader is going to get too much use, but that's as a Charger hater to my core.
It's funny. It's like seeing how teams have had to react to it, and in particular too. Just like all the sight lines that you're used to, like you can't tank a shot or two from a pencil anymore. Now you will get picked out immediately if that leader is looking around.
Yeah, I personally am never a fan of when leader is good in Splatoon. I find it an unfun way to play the game. I am happy for leader players, to be clear. I just don't like it, and I think it is an unhealthy game state. But I think that's just kind of the case for Chargers, and that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. And well, speaking of just in general, the leader discussion has just gone up like rapidly. And one thing I do want to bring up is Samurai Kasato, who this weekend did get a top 4. Like he ran into Google, not the company, but Google is the name of the. No, not Google. Sorry, S Blaster. The two teams that top 2'd, their names are both in English, by the way. S Blaster and Google. Samurai Kasato ran into S Blaster in the top 4, and I do wonder if the competition on average is getting better at fighting leader, because there are some pretty significant differences between how you fight a leader team and how you fight a pen team. Like Omazen brought up, you have a shot or two to work with when it comes to dealing with the pencil, but leader, it's a lot less flexible at covering multiple sides at once. So like stuff like, you're playing on the left flank and the right flank of Hagwin. It's like, oh, which one do I hit? If I hit this one, they just go to the other one. That kind of thing. Versus pencil, which is like, I can just press for both.
But see, if you just play a Splatling instead of either of them, then you get constant crossfire.
Ooh.
Good point.
My Splatling propaganda will never cease. I think Splatlings are a lot more fun of a anchor option. I understand that Chargers beat them every time. And that's just unlucky.
I still believe, like, edit it's not, it's still like a good, pickable.
Yeah,
like
it's very usable.
And like the shorter range Splatlings, they've been
Me should be seeing more play than it is, probably.
Yes. I will applaud that.
Free flow with the Zinc Mini in particular in a few different games, to be completely fair. And I think just the way that, like, something I was thinking about bringing up earlier too is the way that InkVac is in particularly being utilized by a lot of teams. It feels like a natural evolution of how Big Bubbler was almost kind of being utilized a little bit, where it's just like, how do we create different tools for our opponent to not be able to actually do anything on the map? And that's just another way to do it. And it's like, well, instead of the bubble breaking, well, now you just launch like a giant blast of ink at your opponent that they, generally speaking, can't avoid unless if they get a sneaky jump out the last second or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Big Bubbler is still going to have its roles. I mean, the fact that it's also a beacon is just a big deal. That's jumps in that are protected.
100%. The beacon effective is just so good. And like the meta is getting divier. Like as players are growing more like individually mechanically skilled, and the speed of the game is just climbing up. Even guns like S-Blast, where it's like the gun has a really forgiving AoE and like you can't play around that around the glitch and stuff. We still see some super aggro S-Blast players. Like just a lot of more teams are leaning towards that dive direction, and having an immediate HP dome that your Slayers can jump back into and just do wild stuff like Mints that can just dash out of it again. It's that special is good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mint Decapitator having its own bubble is just silly.
It's my favorite thing ever.
It shouldn't have that.
That's not the space right there. That's everyone. That's everyone when they just see a Decapitator just run in, pop its bubble, just crit 2, and it's like, okay, this is in my base now. Awesome.
Well, even if they don't get to, that's just an area you can't even poke at because of how long its range is. And you just go, well, that's their space now, I guess. I guess we just have to wait it out. Sure.
Gosh, it's not even like a junior situation. Like junior,
No,
can
it's
push the
worse than a
bubble.
junior situation. Exactly. Junior's
It's a
allowed to
domain
have bubble.
expansion.
Yeah, it's just
the domain expands for the decapitator. For the other weapons, it's just a little nudge. It's like, hey, by the way, pretty please, can I have this spot of the map? And then half the time the opponent's like, no, preferably no. And they're like, oh, sorry, I'll back off now. The decav is like, well, this is just mine. Sorry.
Yeah. And that shouldn't be a thing it's allowed to do with the decisiveness it does it. And it also has a suction bomb for some reason. I'm still mad about the suction bomb.
Why does it? What the more we talk about Mint, the more I realize how like not carried I am by the gun, but it's like, damn, this weapon just does things. It does things to everybody.
Yeah.
Like
A lot of weapons, believe it or not, do things, and I hate that. I hate it when they do things specifically to me.
True.
Like that just grinds my gears, ruffles my feathers, does the things. I don't really know what other like phrases you can come up with here. One of them.
Yeah, I also just don't think pencil's as strong as people have said it is for quite a while. It's fine. It's more fine in zones in other modes. I don't know why we're running it in other modes really at all. It doesn't keep pace up. It rarely can keep up with what dive comps are currently doing. You'd be better off with probably a heavy edit. Maybe even a ballpoint. Rapid, the new Winter Rapid. The new Winter Rapid's fantastic. I love seeing that. FT1's been using that more. That's been awesome. And also they've got Biscuit on it, so it's Biscuit on it. Which means it's a threat at all times, constantly. When we were talking about flex players, we should have brought up Biscuit.
Yeah.
Biscuit terrifies me.
Has Gibson played like basically every role at this point, like at a top level?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. I mean, I don't know that we've ever seen like true Biscuit like support arc. I don't think we've seen like spray shooter support arc.
Like, he could do that.
Yeah, it's Biscuit. It's Biscuit. Like, there's not a lot else to say there. It's Biscuit. What can't Biscuit do? The answer is, I don't know. Everything in Splatoon seems like it's Biscuit's territory.
Play GooTuber.
I believe Biscuit
arc.
I could be getting this confused, but I think Biscuit did have a sploosh arc at the very beginning of his career. Not ever in top level, like very beginning.
Oh, okay.
But I could also be misremembering because sometimes I get Bagel and Biscuit confused in hindsight. Because they both have bread names and they both start with B, and they came up at the same time, and that's sometimes confusing.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
Nito, what's your...
The Twitter is Biscuit Sploosh, so...
Yeah, okay, I remembered my sploosh arc correctly. I remember that happened.
Nito, we talked a lot about like the sheer variety of potential anchors you can use, especially like in an all mode setting where like sometimes the just one player permanently being on pen like is not a good thing. What's your thoughts about the anchor space right now?
I've always had this idea that like not all backlines are probably anchors, but not all anchors are backlines. Yes. So I've always had this idea of like, well, if it is for the sole purpose of helping out your teammates at a distance, then it could probably be an anchor weapon, which is why I honestly like that there are teams that are sort of anchorless, even though it's still you're still playing an anchor. Let's be honest. I mean, some of y'all talked about Mini, some of y'all talked about Nautilus. Those are weapons that I've seen be put in that anchor position. And I think that I like that we're starting to lean more towards. I don't know that I'm noticing in all of comp, but I'm noticing it here and there. That like we don't need to play all backline. We can still have that anchor. We can still have the value that an anchor weapon would bring from us, but we can still be more mobile. And now that you have all this stuff around you, with like Cooler, I think InkVac could also play a pretty fair role in this. I like that with all these modes and everything that's being offered to you, you're starting to find more variance in that anchor role. Like, let's just play. I remember, now, this is mainly a joke, but one time I warmed up with TZS and Riptide. I had to warm up for DRF, and Alden told me that DRF played backline Tri-Slosh, and I was like, What the hell did you just say?
The Fizzy Bomb kit?
Pretty much, yeah. No,
Yeah,
it took
that
me a
makes
while to
sense.
figure that out. But it took me a while to figure it out because I'm like,
Well, that's
like
almost an Azure throwback at that point.
yeah.
That's almost an E-liter 5K throwback. If anyone remembers that, Luna. Oh, yeah, that's when. So this, I don't know how much people remember Azure these days. Azure was a very, very hyper experimental team. They looked at numbers constantly. They played around numbers. It didn't always go great for them, but they were super innovative. Pika came from there. Raises from there. Like, we have a lot of players from there and a lot of notable people from Azure, pretty generally. And one of the things they would do is run a Luna Blaster like it was an anchor, and specifically the Luna Blaster, the Kensa Luna Blaster, which had Fizzy Bomb, Inkstorm, if I'm remembering correctly. And if you put some sub power up on that, it outranges E-liter with the Fizzy Bomb.
Don't tell me. Did you
Now I remember. Now I remember.
That's the E-liter 5K.
Oh,
It was the most terrifying thing to see. It's like, I compare it to when I used to play Pokemon Emerald Battle Frontier.
They were hard stuck at 9th place of every major, though, just to be clear.
Yeah, but it was like going to the Battle Frontier, noticing all these like random players, and you're like, oh, well, this is just gonna be like a standard Pokemon game battle against another player. They start using all these competitive strats, and I'm like, oh my god, that is terrifying. Why are you doing that with that thing?
That's Azure. That's who they were. That was their identity.
The 5K, the E-liter 5K, probably was the most fun and the most terrifying thing to watch. But it was fun. But
It's
it was
also
terrifying.
very impractical and overcooked, as were many things Azure did. But they were very innovative and interesting and fun as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I am always a fan of a creative comp. But yeah, on your point of anything, pretty much anything can anchor, sort of. I view Heavy Edit as a midline anchor. I don't think Heavy Edit should ever play like a backline. It does not live well there at all.
Nope.
Yeah, it's distinctly a midline.
Get up there, buddy. You got this.
Yeah, go forward. You're Crossfire. Go be Crossfire. You're Crossfiring cooler. Go do your job.
gosh.
Don't get picked off or your team loses.
We saw that a bit in the NA League as well.
We did.
In a couple of the matches. It was the headed with the pencil. I thought that was really interesting. That they, I think it was Hypernova, right? Like they had the, like, for lack of a better word, like they had the balls to like pull that off. And it's like, okay, I see where you guys are coming from. This is the double, like, we're already in your face team. That's like, no, we're going to be double, like a little bit further away from your face, but we're going to crossfire you into hell. That was really funny.
To be fair, I can't imagine that ever being pulled out outside of Crab Leg Capital.
That map is so backline oriented.
It's such that stage is, complete backline, complete anchor focus. The more range you have, the better. Like, it should be a Splatlink's playground, but because the Greats have no cover, it's a Chargers playground. Devastating news for me.
Oh.
Give the Greats cover. Give me Kelp Dome back. Let Splatlings run wild.
Stringers aren't even in the conversation.
Look, I love Tri-Stringer. Sadly, it's not there right now. It is both too hard of a weapon that players have yet to have the opportunity to push that far because its kits are fine at best. And it's hard to build a comp around. It can't do what we're using anchors for typically right now. It's just, I love Tri-Stringer. I want it to be that guy. It cannot be that guy right now.
That's such a good point, honestly. And that, I feel like that's like the really nice like counterbalance to the idea of most weapons being at a point where you can use them, like especially like in zones, for example. But it's like they need a niche. They need a niche, and they need to have like the difficulty of the gun be worth it.
Tri-Stringer's so hard.
Yeah,
I could see Wellstring being practical. I could cook a Wellstring idea, but I don't think Tri-Stringer. It's just hard to play around, and it's unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Tri-Stringer is. I'm at the same. I'm on the same boat as you. I really.
It's
really
the only
do
weapon I've 5-starred. By the way, I love that thing. It's just not. It's just not usable right now.
I've seen it and in competitive play, I've seen the Wellstring as well. And both of those are weapons that are like, I just want it to do so well as a backline weapon. I see the vision. I see the arc shots. I love the arc shots because we already have that with Explosher. Explosher is fun to watch. If you don't believe me, go watch.
Also, RIP to Explosher.
Yeah, that too. I don't know. I just Nintendo, if you're listening.
The more unique anchors are distinctly not in a great spot right now. Yeah. I will say Wellstring probably has a niche in Rainmaker.
Yeah.
It has its funny little Rainmaker niche, at least. Tri-Stringer is fully usable through high level, is my genuine belief. I don't think it's usable in top level right now. I think it has a ceiling, sadly.
I think that goes with a lot of weapons, though.
Yeah, I'd say if you're not... If you're not top level, you can run, as long as you're thinking through how you do it, you can run anything. Top level's the only exception to this, in my opinion.
No, for sure. And it sucks because, in particular, the newer Tri-Stringer kit with I think it's the bulbs with the inkjet. Like, that's a really fun one, too. Like, the inkjet plays off of it pretty well.
And the line marker combos off of its numbers really nicely.
Yeah, it's like its own extended burst bomb, basically. And, like, that not being as prevalent as I guess it could be, it's a little bit of a tragedy.
Yeah.
It is interesting though. I am glad that the anchor variety just like in general is starting to trend up. There are a good number of weapons that are their niche is not the clearest. You know, some of Tri-Stringer, just is a weapon. Like there has been a couple of Tri-Stringer players that have broken through. Like shout out Auden, for example, just getting like top of the ladder with a Stringer, and there was a different Stringer that like top forward area cup, like that was like very, very impressive for the gun. Like for the consistent results, it takes a niche. So, like what can this anchor do that even if it's not pencil tier, that makes it unique? Like rapid, its mobility is better. It has more immediate access to that long range chip damage. The suction is not why you pick it, but like it's nice to just have that kind of AoE output from an anchor. Like Weeder beats pencil, pretty good,
pretty solid. Beats every Splatling you're gonna see.
Yeah, they don't play the game versus that gun. But like, like even like the vac charger, right now that ink vac is in a significantly better spot because of that can take more bullets easier. The close range quarters nature of it is starting to crop up. Like it's not, I would say it's in a crazy spot, but like it's starting, like the reason to pick it is higher.
Yeah. And then I would love to see more heavy at it. I don't think we're going to necessarily. I think we're going to see a shift towards Winter Rapid and Mini, probably. Not Mini necessarily as an anchor, but Mini is just so strong right now that I would feel bad neglecting it from any conversation. Because why does it have 3 good kits? Why is it allowed 3 of them?
Like one of like the 3 Splatoon weapons that have just like high tier or top tier kits are on the board.
Which is silly. I think Rattler might honestly be the kit we see played the least, which is wild and not what anyone would have anticipated.
I think people realize that Zuka spam just isn't that good, especially when you're
but
like
beacons are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little bit of a beacon unbeliever as someone who used to be like one of the biggest beacon believers. No, it doesn't. I don't know if it works that well. It like kind of puts like a forced hindrance on your team a little bit with the pacing. It's like, okay, well now you've established this is where you're going to likely pop up. And if you're not constantly shaking that up a little bit, I don't know.
That's fair.
I actually love that you bring that up, Omasen, because like that is one of the things about Rattler Mini, and you know, there was around like a period of like a couple weeks after it came out, and like specifically after it won Air Cup, but after it came out, like there's like a major where a lot of teams picked Rattler and they did nothing. The reason is because Rattler does really require a specific kind of team that can play around, you know, like, okay, they're gonna jump from this point or this point. We know that unless we break the beacon. And like, you know, the mini player has to,
if it's played well enough, it speeds up the pace of a comp drastically, but you have to build the comp with that in mind, and the mini player has to play with that in mind.
Yeah.
Like a carbon. Like
maybe like a carbon.
You're committing to
the
idea of there's a specific weapon that normally kind of struggles a little bit if it's not like a copy and paste everywhere, like a decav or a stamper or a pencil or a.
But the speed you could get out of the Rattler Mini, the speed you can get out of a comp with a Rattler Mini, I think probably is unparalleled. I'm not upset that we're not doing it though. I don't want to figure out how to commentate that. We can continue not doing it, quite frankly. It's already fast. You're already changing how we do play-by-play. I don't know. Play-by-play is hard now.
Zimmer's already fast enough. We don't need to go faster.
Exactly.
It's so funny when I do like play-by-play for Splatoon, and then I eventually go back to doing play-by-play for like Nebraska women's soccer or women's basketball, because like I'm speaking at a fast enough rate that I go back to doing women's soccer, and it's like, all right, she passes it to the forward, waiting for an opportunity. Oh, there's a strike, and then just like another few minutes. So we talk about this goal. I don't know. You don't have that time in Splatoon, is what I'm saying.
No, and I think that's like, this is getting a little off topic, but if you look at how commentators are doing commentary these days, there's very little play-by-play because you cannot do it. It doesn't sound good. It's not intelligible for the listener. It's not very approachable. So play-by-play gets way more simplified than it used to in terms of what gets said about what's happening. You're more likely to just point out key things, and you're more likely to do more color and explain what just happened rather than trying to say these things happened. You're more likely to go, this is why that happened. Here's what exploded.
I think that just comes with the pacing of the game too.
Oh, absolutely.
So fast, and it's like, well, if you're not like perfectly commentating it as it's happening, it's not going to, it'd be as clean as you'd maybe like it to be. And
it's not Splatoon 2.
I mean, we've all been through commentator's curse, I'm sure. Like it's like you inevitably have that moment where it's like, okay, the entire team's about to get this overtime push, and it's like Splat bomb falls from the heavens and gets a quad. It's like, oh well, I guess that's not happening anymore. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even mind that kind of situation so much. That's just a misread or unlucky kind of thing to me. It's more of a, there is a point at which too many things are happening. There's just a matter of, if I don't simplify this down to its bare bones, that is too many words. It is not pleasant. It is not good, in fact.
That is
completely.
That is so interesting. I'm not someone that's like casted at like an official event, or like not even close. I don't even think I've casted like a that many weeklies even. But like the fact that play-by-play is like basically almost gone. It sounds like
it's just, I mean, it's not gone. It's just very different. It's way more simplified is probably a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
You're simplifying what's happening more than it's gone. But like if we go back to the slowest version of Splatoon we have seen, which is end of S2 meta, where it's all missiles, people are just painting. You could genuinely pretty much call out everything that was happening on screen without issue. Yeah. Closer to what you would probably do is play-by-play for regular sports. If I don't know that for sure, but that seems accurate. I don't know if it is, Nito.
Yeah, close enough, yeah.
Okay. I've watched enough college basketball to have a guess.
There you go.
Yeah. But Splatoon 3, since launch, has picked up the pace, and even since then, it's just gotten faster and faster. And, like, there is a limit to how fast you can talk and how much people want to listen to you talk fast. It's fun to have a few moments of fast talking at the end of like a game 5 or during grand final. Most of the time, you want to be pretty chill. You want to build to those finals. Yeah, you want to build for those moments. You want those moments to be special.
Absolutely. And I know we've been talking about college a little bit, and as we're just said about the remaining half-hour point of our Splat chat today, I think we would be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about probably the kickstart of the CCA League too.
Yes.
And I mean, Nito, you're a current competitor. I know you missed, I believe, this past week, but a lot did happen that for quite a few different teams may have slightly impacted maybe their own decisions or just thing with that. There was a little bit of a Sendu bug, but it's been fixed. Everything's happy and fine and well. But there may have been 5 different tournaments created last second in order to ensure that the qualifiers still ran on time.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What happened there was that with Sendo, and there's probably a better way that someone else can talk about this. But what happened there was we had to go with 5 different brackets, one for each division, because with Sendo.inc, it originally wanted us to start Division 1 and once Division 1 ended, everything else could start, but we all had to wait for Division 1 to start. So the quickest fix was for us to just have every division be its own bracket. And again, that's its own can of worms. And quite frankly, that's above my pay grade, even though I'm not paid at all. I just think it's still above my pay grade. But I think I figured it wasn't going to be long until we addressed that elephant in the room. But yeah, I mean, that was a bug. You can have your opinions on Sendo or not, but ultimately that problem is fixed. I do anticipate it being a lot quicker, a lot easier. Obviously, we didn't get to play because of time constraints. We had a few of our players who had to leave early, so it is what it is. Look forward to this upcoming Sunday. But yeah, we should have everything ready to go by Sunday.
Yeah, and no, that's going to be exciting. And just like, the NA League, how it's running pretty much every single Saturday for the next couple months, the CCA circuit made the very, blessed decision to run on Sundays. And I mean, as a member of staff, also as a NITO member of staff, we're definitely very happy that decision was made, because trying to have some of us play the NA League, some of us also attempting to play the CCA circuit, and then also, TO a little bit, do a little production. That's not going to happen. That's actually impossible. That it's not happening. So it's still a lot of Splatoon. Don't get me wrong. I'm planning on playing the NA League myself as well over the upcoming weeks, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of production for CCA as well. This past weekend, I did commentary for it as well. So trying to keep everyone as sane as possible, I guess. But regardless of all of that, the little smaller hiccups, the establishing just how this is going to run. For those who don't know, CCA runs 2 different formats typically each semester. One for the fall, one for the spring at the moment. And for the fall, the past year or so, we've been doing a CCA circuit where there's a series of qualifiers that teams can earn points through based on their performance, how many games they win, things along the nature of that, right? And once they get to towards the end of the academic year, or not the year, the semester, they're able to qualify for the finals. And this year we do have a last chance qualifier where teams who are just out of range of qualifying can get some of the bottom seeds for the CCA circuit finals. But it's a really exciting time. It's a really, honestly, I think really good format too. I say this partly biased, but partly like just being genuine too. Like, I wish this existed when I was a college student because it's peak, it's cinema. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, no kidding. It's one of those like formats where every week is something different, and you can say the same thing for the CCA league itself, like the proper league, but the circuit is made in a way to that you're not going into the next week knowing what to expect. Like, oh yeah, I know UCSD is going to be playing PSU. I know VC is going to be playing Arcaley or Drexel or whatever. It's like, okay, all of these teams instead are going to play each other every weekend on a Sunday, but we don't know what the outcome of all those weekends are going to be, because every weekend is going to be different. I can assure you, once we get to talking about the results, I could talk about the winners, losers of it, but I could be seeing a completely different event next week, and we're going to have 6 of those throughout the season. So there's a lot to look forward to. I do like this format.
Yeah, no, there is. And I want to point out last year too, for the first initial debut season of the circuit, we actually had a different winner of each qualifier for Division 1 too, based on, just how each of them played out. And that's something that no one really I expected going into it. I think a lot of people expected that one team was going to just come out maybe swinging on a couple of them, but it really just speaks to the kind of diverse skill sets and just how these teams play in different situations. But I think there is another elephant in the room that we have to address too. So for those of you who aren't familiar, in Division 1 in particular, there is one team who is probably just going to actually win all the qualifiers, or at least
boy,
podium for all the qualifiers at a bare minimum. And it is sort of the successor to VCU's Big Fat Sea Cows, now going under the VCU Las Criaturas. They have one current member of Big Fat Sea Cows being Lux, but they also have Fox, who was on Artifice. You might remember him from Super Jump and some of the other higher level events in the community over the past few months. They also have Havoc and Thunder. So this is actually legitimately very scary. Like this is not
Yeah,
funny
that's rough. Yeah, that's a rough one for everyone else.
And there's legitimately no team that like has a roster of that caliber from any other school. Like the closest thing is
time to start recruiting Splatoon players.
It's time for it's time for all the plus players to graduate high school. Maybe I don't know.
We got to start upping the recruitment, and it's starting to. At this point, it might just have to be like a standard NIL deal, like we have in college football, where it's like, all right, look, you're a +2 player, right? Come here, come to Nebraska. I'm going to give you money to play here. It's not going to be much. I might get you enough for like a pizza or two, but if you want to come play, it's a really dangerous scenario.
We need trades. We need CCA to have trades. Like
we need a transfer window.
A transfer window. Like, I mean, you kind of had that a little bit debatably, Nito, in your own special way. Right.
Yeah. Good old Comet Blasters to Green Corn. It's a really fun path.
I think my undergrad still has some teams that play in CCA.
No way.
I never played the CCA teams. I never played for the CCA there. I just made the teams form and then left, which is a funnier way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they should be playing. They have an active server. They should be playing.
Yeah, that was sort of Magic 8 Ball with Purdue. He helped form all the different teams. He's like, okay, here are your buddies, and then proceeded to not really do anything directly competitor-wise in it, which is all fine and well. Definitely.
I also didn't coach them. I just went play the video game. Thanks. I'm leaving. Which was a way to do it.
No, absolutely.
I think they have like 2 active teams most years though.
Yeah, there you go. No,
there was a period where they had 3.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, one of the teams, or not teams, one of the colleges actually, can't go without saying, and it did get called out last podcast too, but it's just wild to me. Penn State University, I believe, has 7 teams this semester. And it's like, I still don't understand why they did that. No offense to you, Vapor, our lovely co-admin of Beep, but
you're also enthusiast.
That many people wanted to play, you might as well let them.
I mean, yeah, no, absolutely. It's just like, how are they going to manage that many people? I don't know how you do that. That's too much work.
I will say, I'm in their server, the PSU Splatoon server, and I really amazed by the amount of promotion they do for their own club. I mean, this is something I did a lot when I was co-founding Comet Blasters with Apricot, is that we need to do a lot of promotion. You need to get your name out there. Some of these Splatoon teams are also part of like esports clubs, and that gives you your own exposure in a way, but it's the teams like PSU like Penn State that go out there and say, we're going to do this event here. We're going to do this event on this part of campus. We're going to do all these events. And Vapor, bless their heart, I don't know how you're doing all of this, but it's working out well to where you end up having 7 teams. And I think Penn State is starting to become this like exemplary sign of what other clubs should be doing. With esports, and if you're part of any esports org like me, it might be a little more restrictions there, but I still think there's some ways for you to find your way or like get your name out there. I like that Penn State's doing that. I think that's why they have that many teams. I like what they're doing there.
No, they've been doing a really good job in general, and Penn State's been one of the relatively older school teams and just school communities as well in Splatoon that's managed to stay around as long as they have and has been just continue to be more prevalent. So they've done a really good job with that. And I mean, it goes without saying, PSU Blue, their leading team, was able to get second in this first CCA qualifier as well. Taking a look at the bracket, I believe they were they weren't able to take a game off Lost Creature, as bless their heart. But another group that was able to actually take a game off of the team Lost Creature as was Death Roll. And for those of you who don't know and haven't been following the CCA too closely over the past couple seasons, Henlo was actually on Death Roll previously, and they only just graduated or left the team this past spring. So now the team is Henlo-less, but they still clearly are doing something right, because they're the only team who throughout that entire qualifier was able to actually be some level of a threat against Lost Creatures. And to be fair, this was also in the context of a best of 3 too. So that match was actually a little bit up in the air there as a 1-to-1 too. So, I mean, things do get competitive in the CCA. Don't discount College Splatoon, folks.
Oh, not at all. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about in terms of that one event. And again, I have this like entire setup pad or 2 putting pages worth of notes. I mean, we're going to talk about like things that can happen, like anything can happen in collegiate Splatoon. I want to talk about both Drexel and Towson University, because Drexel comes out 4th place. They are coming out swinging, by the way, to get at least 1 game off of Penn State Blue, which in itself is a result which any Div 1 team probably look at it and go, hold on. But then you go into the bracket, you beat Golden Barracudas, you beat Skyfall, which is, I mean, they're both pretty impressive in their own right, just getting into D1. They're both like D2 mainstays until now. But then you lose to PSU Blue. You get 1 match off of Death Roll. Drexel has had a monumental rise, I think, since the beginning of the year. Just how much they've been able to accomplish. They brought in Magic as a coach, which helps them a lot. And also the reason we also stole Magic, Nebraska did. But, I mean, Drexel has done so much to improve within the last year that we also have to give some of our shout-outs to them. I think if we saw them on a podium within the next 5 sessions, I wouldn't be surprised. Other teams you want to look at are going to be MTSU Skyfall. Another surprise there. I mainly want to look at Towson, though, because Towson almost picture perfect throughout groups. You beat out Amethyst and from Michigan State. You beat out the Refunds, another new team. Some pretty impressive results in their own right. And then you beat Arc Haley, and now it's like, okay, hold on. Arc Haley is another one of those established teams that UT Dallas runs a tight ship there. If you beat them, there's going to be eyes on you. And now they go to round 2. Round 2 of the bracket, I think, is an unfortunate draw for them, because you do end up going against, I mean, just look at the roster. Just look at VCU's roster and think, okay, that's unfair. But
next.
I think Towson is going to be a team that everybody at Div 1 is going to need to watch out for to some extent. Towson's sharp right.
Been on an up and up too. I mean, the same exact thing goes for Drexel. Towson just recently brought on Ori as well from, a plus and high level competitive play fame. And the team as a whole, like they started like kind of maybe middle of the pack CCA when they were initially formed as a group, but as a couple people have left and new people were brought on, they've like really jumped up a lot very quickly even. And Drexel in particular too, they've always been hovering around that sort of like Div 1-ish, Div 2-ish range historically. But this past year, Riptide, for instance, Drexel was one of a couple collegiate teams that actually broke into top 32 and went a bit further than even like round 1. Drexel went to losers round 2, I believe. So that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you talk about all the tournament runs that we saw at Riptide. You can't talk about those without talking about PSU Blue, because PSU Blue had their own respectable run. I believe making top 16 at on Championship Sunday, any collegiate team that makes it to top 32 is immediately going to be a team you watch out for. A team like PSU Blue, maybe it's no surprise if you're like me and you've been around a collegiate scene long enough to where that's not that much of a surprise. But to anyone else, and even myself, I think that is a phenomenal result to have for any collegiate team. Bringing them into top 32, going farther into top 32 is tremendous. And it's a good sign of what collegiate Splatoon can bring to the general competitive table.
Yeah, and there's just a little peek into like really how far some of these teams got to. Like it was really funny, I think, in particular, seeing how comparable, for instance, like the TZS and PSU Blue kind of experiences were. I think like one of the funniest moments from Riptide as a whole was seeing PSU Blue and TZS fight on the main stage. And I think was it winners finals for Redemption? That was really funny.
It had to be. No, I don't know. Riptide was. I always think of Riptide as like a really huge reunion. Just happens to be a Splatoon tournament next to it, and I do remember that though. I do remember watching that at some point and thinking, "Oh man, if I wasn't eating right now, I'd be right in front of that stage, just saying the most dumb crap imaginable." Which, because like that just goes to me as a viewer. I let the viewer part out of me sometimes, and I think that was one of the funnier moments to have watched on stream. And I'm wishing I was actually there in person, but there was a lot of that later on. So I'm not too bothered by it.
I mean,
that is really interesting.
Go ahead.
No, go for it. Yeah.
That is really interesting. Just like hearing how for Riptide, it's more like a reunion. I can totally see that for players that are like just like an online pickup, and it's like your online friend that you like, haven't ever had the chance to talk to. It's like, oh my gosh, hi, I don't know you, right? But it also sounds like for these really more notable collegiate teams, like Cows and also like PSU, and like from the sounds of things, Las Creaturas, it sounds like a crazy team now. Like, it sounds like they're starting to build even like a fan base in a way, or at least just like a group of really close connections.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, those people don't need reunions. They're playing with each other all the time, and that's like a whole rabbit hole I can go to between like collegiate teams and your normal competitive Splatoon team. But they don't need reunions, but they do still have that element of like, oh crap, we're playing in front of a live audience. Now it's like there's people watching us that have watched us a ton on stream, and then you go in person and it's like, okay, these people are real. These people are surrounding our setup. Or if we're on stage, these people are watching us on stage, and it's like, okay, wow, now you have something to show for them. And that's what I like about collegiate teams showing up to Riptide. It's like, now you have something to show these people that have been watching you, but they haven't really been watching you. But now you go up to the stage and you're like, all right, you guys know us, so we're going to do the exact same thing, but it means a lot more.
Wanted to say, do you mind if we one up, especially between you and Nito, Omazen, one up the CCA and have a proper introduction of who the colleges are in Division 1? Because there wasn't a proper show on this side of the CCA to introduce all the Division 1 teams.
Oh, you're right, CKK. Yeah. So it goes without saying that these are collegiate teams, right? They're from colleges. Right. There are a lot of top level players within these universities too, and players and groups that have shown that they're like worthy of being at a higher level. So, I mean, we would be doing it a disservice if we didn't talk about the specific groups a little bit more, all in all, as well. I mean, Nito, like I know that you're not the biggest TZS fan, but maybe a little bit you want to say about PSU Blue.
I got to see all of them at some point. I know, obviously, Elephant in the Room, Vapor, but Snow is another player I've heard from as well. Snow, I remember.
Snow was on Illumini at some point, right?
Illumini and Power Rank, if anyone remembers Power Rank. I also used to be on. I was on Illumini back when it was Inkai. That's why it's a distinct remember thing for me. Oh man, those are names I haven't heard in a while. But anyway, there's a lot of these names that, and PSU Blues roster has changed up a while. Arctan, I remember, was from now I'm starting to blank. This is the worst time to blank, but Arctan was from another team. I don't remember which one.
Fish?
I think so.
I'm not
yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I think so. It was another PSU team, but they made their way up here, got the call up. J Money as well. Another team I want to look at is another player that I would look at in terms of like, I know I think J Money was also on Fish, but anyway, I think there's a lot to talk about within this group. I think this is Group A of Division 1. So you see a lot of teams. Obviously, you have your mainstays like Drexel, we talked about earlier. H-Town has Dio from... Actually, no, H-Town recently got Dio back from the Yellow Jackets. Dio was not there in the CCA League. Does make a comeback here. USF Gold has Haya. Shout out Destiny Troops there. We get to look at a few more teams. HLG Blue and Georgia Tech Gold are two teams that are newer to Division 1. HLG Blue is going to be UC Riverside, and that team got the call up because of how well they've been doing outside of the CCA. So that's going to be Justin Saturday, another name you might recognize from Flower Egg Panko. Georgia Tech Gold, another team you might recognize. I know Taco I've seen at some point. I know they played at one point with Henlo Flop Club. I'm seeing it right now. They play with Henlo Flop Club at some point, so a lot of recognizable names there. But that's Group A. A lot of memorable names there. I forgot RAT, another team on the rise. They're a newer one, though, so they've been making their way up here. Never Lucky, Kibri House, Neutral. Those are some names I do remember off the bat.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, there's quite a few other teams as well, like MTSU Skyfall you mentioned a little bit earlier. They have Brendan on their group as well. And I mean, their roster's like kind of just low-key stacked. It's like it's not like super, the most out there group, but when they had their debut season as MTSU Skyfall, they were also pretty strong, and a lot of their players have been able to move up even further since then. But I mean, this is kind of like a return to form, I believe, with how they're showing up to the second season of the circuit.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's another team we're going to be talking about a lot later on. And we have to talk about some more of these teams. I mean, Death Roll, we already mentioned. Henlo Lust right now. Henlo going off to the North American League, still going on strong. We talked about Las Criaturas. We talked about a couple of these teams. Ohio State is another one of the teams that gets the call up here because of what they've done in Division 2 and what they've done both on and off the scene. I know for a fact I've seen Amy Rose at Amy Rose Fan Club. I think that was the play team they're on for Lowing. And they did fairly well in Lowing. So that's why they're also like, yeah, we're going to call you up here. And then Arcaley kind of doesn't really need much of an introduction. I know there's a lot of names there. Vessel in particular, one of those top mid-level players. So a lot to mention there. UCD's gone a long way since I left. And honestly, part of me is jealous. And part of me is like, you know what? Good for you. Good for you, Arcaley.
There's kind of like this big power shift, like this theme, if you pay attention to CCA, where like Texas and Florida, more so Florida, they just have all these powerhouses of teams. It's really wild to just watch. Like in particular, Death Roll, I think, got second place both times last academic year in Circuit Season 1 and CCA League Season 6. So there are like silver medal babies are winners. But
yeah, I mean, Florida has been a mainstay. I think this last year, Death Roll obviously is going to be the name that comes up. And as well as they've done, unfortunately, they've been that second place darling. They're basically their shoe prints match the ones that are on the second place spot in the podium, unfortunately. But they're so close. They're one of those teams that are just so close to finally having that breakthrough moment. But as far as the Florida teams go, there's obviously USF Gold, another team we talked about. UCF, Central Florida, that's a team that has had their roster change so much to where I've actually had to click through and see what their roster is right now, because I still remember a time when our stats person, Hoken, was on UCF nights. And now it's like, okay, now you have Andu, which is another name I remember. You have Astral, Sugi, and it's like, okay, who are these people? But you're doing well enough to be here, so maybe I shouldn't like question it too much.
He won a Lowink recently. Yeah. I think it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, and that's why they're obviously keeping up here in Division One. UCF didn't show up as strongly in this one. I mean, they did make it to the bracket, ended up losing to Arcaley 2-0. But I mean, UCF is still one of those teams that are like solid enough to where they will stay in Division One no matter what happens, even after the second split, where we're going to have that division shift. But Florida's here to stay. Like that's plain and simple. Florida's going to be here to stay. Texas just as much with Arcaley and H-Town. You might even see some more action from Sam Houston State. I mean, they've had a drastic rise too, but that's going to be outside of Division One. Division Two is going to be the place to watch for that.
A little bit of another underrated one to look out for is MSU with their new Amethyst roster. So MSU actually was one of the first initial schools to be a part of the CCA in the grand scheme of things. And they kind of just went off the radar for a solid year or two there. They had a really big push around CCA League Season 3 or 4, where they had 4 or 5 teams, I believe, enter our league. And they even had one team in particular, I believe it was MSU Aries, who was able to get all the way up to grand finals, if I recall correctly. Yeah, and it was a really, really exciting time for the CCA and also for MSU in particular. But after a little while, they kind of just fell off the radar. But now they're back. Now they're looking to try to make a name for themselves again with a new roster, a completely brand new group of Squid Kids. So there's a lot to be had here. There's a lot of different storylines. There's new faces, right? There's historical schools and historical teams. Like PSU has always been a really dominant school.
Oh yeah.
With Penn State in particular, they've won. They're the only school to have won 2 academic seasons. One being CCA League Season 6, and the other one being, I believe, Season 4. So they're looking to continue this kind of dominance that they've had overall, but I mean, all the other schools here in Division One definitely have a lot to say for themselves too. And I mean, we're not going to dive too deep into it, but there's also a total of 5 divisions this academic year so far for the CCA. So there's plenty of other schools to follow. I'm sure that many of the people watching this right now, like, there's a solid chance that there's a school within your state or several schools within your state that do have Splatoon teams, which is a crazy thing to think about. Like, if this was, a couple years ago, I would have thought that the size that this has grown to would have never happened. But it's really exciting, and it's to the point where with our first qualifier, we were able to reach our first ever new peak for initial signups, where we had 110 teams, I believe, signed up at one point. We did have a few drops due to a variety of reasons, but just the fact that a collegiate event, and in particular the first one of the semester, can pull that sort of, attention, I think is really cool, because it takes a lot more coordination than just like a low rank or an SOS, where it's like, you get a couple of friends from online. Like, you have to find 3 other people from your school.
Yeah.
I know what the Squid video game is.
Sometimes you trick them into playing the Squid video game. Sometimes they know of it loosely and you drag them in against their will.
And that's the funny thing about like teams like mine, Cream Corn. I mean, obviously I come in with like experience from the Grillers, experience from Aquatic Vanguard, and then you have another few, like the rest of the teams, like, okay, I had some experience in Splatoon 2 playing competitively, and then some people are like, I have no experience at all. But it all starts with always just like going out there and saying, all right, play Splatoon. Because that's how UT Dallas started. That's how I started Comet Blaster. And funny enough, the way Cream Corn started was that one player named Drywall, who was the former team captain, went up to one of the esports staff and said, hey, can I start a Splatoon team? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And now we're here. So I love that collegiate Splatoon is about like, just find 3 other people at the very least who play Splatoon. Go out there and see what you can do. This is the best time. I mean, this is the best time for collegiate Splatoon to be a part of it, be watching it, be involved in it, because there's so much to look forward to. And the best, and really, this what makes collegiate sports great, is that all of these teams will last about 4 years. So PSU Blue could be strong now. We can then see a rise from like, I don't know, Toast. We can see a rise from like New Jersey Institute of Technology. There's a lot to be looking out for in this area. That's what I like the most about collegiate Splatoon.
that 4 year, well, roughly 4 year, but that graduation based and also location based
Oh yeah.
dynamic to the teams. It's really unique. Like for pretty much outside of the collegiate space, it's very like, hey, you're in NA roughly. Hey, you're like, even if like you're EU, like you're like thousands of miles away. Hey, you want to maybe do a little pickup or something like that. It sounds like it's different, like both from like a dedication standpoint, but also like the location and the timing sounds really important here.
Yeah, and that also creates like it's timing in specifically because we all like to dedicate some of our seating to like in some of our groups back in the CCA league to time zones, which helps them a little bit. But most of it's like you do have some rivalries from. Funny enough, you have some rivalries from collegiate sports that you can actually kind of replicate here. Like for example, this year we recently got a University of Michigan. Now we have a couple of Ohio State teams. That matchup in any capacity is always fun to watch because of that rivalry that's already been set. And we've also had Nebraska versus Oklahoma there. We've had, I think, actually, I have to remember, but there's a lot of Big Ten matchups, and I can go on and on about this because this is kind of my avenue, but there's a lot already set up for collegiate Splatoon to have storylines in the same way that regular competitive Splatoon does, and I like that.
I'll have to keep an eye out to see if UNC and Duke ever join.
Jeez, there's UNC Greensboro. Is that close enough?
I know there's UNC Greensboro. That's my undergrad. That's
There you
different than UNC drastically. They compete against each other. They're both Div 1 schools, but they're very different.
A little.
UNC and Duke are within 20 minutes of each other, and my hometown's where UNC is. So.
Oh goodness, yeah. Now
they're one of the big basketball rivalries.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of. And you're going. We're going to see that in March Madness next year. Anyway, that's a different.
Oh, we always are. There's always
Yeah,
UNC and Duke.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that almost pretty much about does it. Unless if there's any like really pressing thoughts from any of you on just any of these topics today.
I mean, keep watching the North American League. Watch the North American League show if you can. Anything we can do to show that, like, oh, we're going to keep showing up about this as a community is pretty major.
Agreed. Absolutely. Keep tuning into your events. Keep tuning into the NA League. Tune into CCA if you want to see what on earth is going on in the universities across the country. I see you pointing to yours. You have to point to mine too. We'll see if a Purdue team actually shows up to the circuit this year. Purdue's kind of on their fall off arc a little bit, but we believe Rail will save us. But
let's go Rail.
That's a new team for context from Purdue, but nevertheless, that was Splat Chat episode 19. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to catch up on the NA League, speculate a little bit on what's on the horizon, talk comps, talk what's going on over in JP land with Pastry as well, and give a little bit of a brief on the CCA. But we'll tune out in just a short minute. But before we do, everyone, where can we find you? Starting off with Nito, just going down the line.
You can find me at Blue Sky at NitoUnused.bscott@social. You can find me on Twitch on a rare occasion that I do stream at NitoUnused. And if you want to find me later, I'm going to be doing a lot of Nebraska stuff in the next few days. I got to do a board op for a soccer game against Purdue, funny enough. Get to go watch them play watch our football team play against Michigan State. We beat one Michigan team at least, and then I play on the circuit qualifier on Sunday. So good to see you there. Hopefully get to come see #Creamer Nation. Real hashtag, by the way, please use.
You can find me on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Twitch at NoxRaven42. Hopefully we'll have some new YouTube stuff up before too long, and there's a bit of a backlog there now, so keep an eye out.
Nice. And you can find me at Pink Puppy Pastry at pretty much every social. Tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting some competitive viewer games on my Twitch. Basically, they're games that you can join up on, and there's a bit more stakes on the line, and the winner ends up getting a pretty cool prize. So if you want to check that, Yeah, just check out the boost guide there. All the links are there.
Pretty cool. And then, of course, you all can find me over here at Broadcast Beep. But when I'm not doing Broadcast Beep stuff, you can find me at the CCA helping with the circuit and just all of our other events too. But that's been this week's episode of Splat Chat. Thank you all again for tuning in. We will see you all later. Peace out and goodbye.